I'm Jennifer Davis. I am a life coach and I specialize in betrayal trauma recovery. I have a membership community, and what really inspired that is I wanted a place for women to gather and get support where I can help more women at a lower cost. So I was doing a lot of one-on-one and group session, but I want to make sure that I'm able to get other women who are not able to afford the typical costs for therapy and coaching and give them a space in which they can continue to get the help that they need. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that looks like. A lot of the programs I do are 8 or 12 weeks long. It just really depends on the goal that we have. If I were to fit it into an intro program of 12 weeks, which is something I am planning to add to the membership community, so anybody can join that membership community that needs this kind of support. Currently, our group is meeting every Thursday night for about 90 minutes, and we're going to start going through these things. The phases of recovery from betrayal are safety and stabilization, and then you have grieving and meaning making. That's the second phase. And then the final and third stage is the growth and the restoration phase. Okay, so let me break that down a little bit more. The plan is for us to have a shallow dive, is the best way to put it, into each of these phases and breaking them into 4 sessions each. So the first phase, we're going to start with kind of just an overview of what betrayal trauma is and an overview of the phases. So we've already done that. And then we're going to talk about how to ground, how to anchor yourself, which are some great tools for people that struggle with post-traumatic stress. And then our second session is going to be understanding trauma responses. And I do want to say, because a lot of what I do is very faith-based and spirit-led, there are times when I do change a few things because I feel like what we really need isn't quite what I had planned. So there's lots of room for adjustment based on who's there. Okay, so the second session is understanding trauma responses. So that's understanding the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, but explaining it through the lens of betrayal trauma. We are going to talk about symptoms that come with it. So the symptoms that look like post-traumatic stress or hypervigilance or the different other triggers that we deal with. And then we're going to also get into ways that we can handle those things and bring us back into regulation emotionally. We're also going to talk about boundaries as a way to feel safe, to get safe, what they aren't. What are the difference between boundaries, walls, and control? And then going ahead and making a list of our boundaries. If you haven't seen my video, Boundary Circles, it's a really good explanation of that. And then the last session in that phase is basically stabilization practices. So if you've seen my Daily Habits to Heal, that program is also going to be added to the membership community in the portal. So I'm going to be pre-recording all of those sessions so that anybody can take those at any time that is in the membership community. The second phase, grieving and meaning making, we're going to focus on naming the loss, understanding what betrayal takes away, whether it be safety, trust, our identity, our community, our future dreams, whatever that is. I start to get everybody in the habit of journaling as well. And then we're going to go into honoring anger and other hard emotions. We're going to validate that. Anger, sadness, confusion, whatever it is, we're taught to believe that those are not good things, that we shouldn't be feeling those things. But the truth is, our emotions are our emotions, and we really do need to feel them and process them. So we'll be getting into that, practicing a good habit of letting ourselves process them out. And then we're going to make meaning from the pain. We're going to explore things like spiritual questions that we might have, blaming issues, reframing the narratives that we have put on ourselves, and separating the truth from the lies as well about what you believe about yourself, or maybe even what you believe about God. We're going to get into compassion and self-acknowledgement, which looks a lot like moving from self-blame to self-compassion. We're going to understand how to do things that are healthy for us, like breathing and affirming ourselves. We'll start to take inventory about the noticeable shifts in our emotional awareness. So that's phase 2 of the recovery process. So that covers us for 8 sessions. The final phase is called growth and restoration. When we hear the word restoration, we start to think it means the marriage is restored. And while that is a fantastic goal to have, and I hope that many people get to experience that, sometimes I realize that's just not how things work out. Restoration can mean building hope, restoration with God and your walk with Him, new patterns of living. In this final part of what we do together, we're rediscovering our identity again. Who am I outside of betrayal? We dive into personal values because a lot of times the values that we held within the betrayal experience aren't necessarily the values that are authentic to us. So we do some work around personal values as well. What parts of you were silenced that are starting to come back? We're learning to use our voice again in a healthy way and say what we want and understand what we need in order for us to progress in the healing process. Rebuilding trust with yourself and with others. And this is a really interesting thing because if you are still married and you're working together through the recovery process, your partner actually plays a role in rebuilding trust. And so hopefully they are getting the help that they need in their recovery steps to participate in that in a very meaningful way. But this part, we dive into understanding trust as a process, and it's not an event. And it can be really frustrating for partners who choose to stay married that this is really hard. It's messy and it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. But in the end, it's totally worth it if you're both committed to doing that work around trust building. We are going to talk about the trust ladder. We start to understand what helps us trust ourselves again. And then we move on to different growth practices, developing resilience through habits. So I have a program called Daily Habits to Heal that I've already mentioned. And that program is going to be loaded, pre-recorded. So these aren't live sessions anymore like I've done in the past. It's going to be pre-recorded sessions where I'm going to be doing the session on video and you follow along. And then there'll be exercises that you do. So that is there and you can take it as many times as you want. It's all part of the membership community. But developing resilience through habits is going to be habits around the 6 main categories. We also are going to make sure that we have solidified our practice of gratitude, reflection. It's a very important part. I really do believe that a practice of gratitude journaling is a huge part of healing and can really help you overcome some of those more sticky behaviors that are hard to overcome. And recognizing progress. Remember, progress over perfection is the most important thing. And so learning to celebrate those little wins that you might have every single day, it doesn't matter how little they are, just making progress is the most important part. And even if you do something that doesn't feel like progress, maybe feels like regression, there's still opportunity for gratitude and reflection in that, and just observing what led you to that point. What happened that made you go in that direction or make that decision? And then the final session of the 12 weeks, and these won't be perfectly 12 weeks. Our session that we did most recently, we only covered a little bit of my outline that I would normally have for the session. So we'll just continue on next week with the rest of it. That's essentially what we're planning to work on. And in the membership community, which will be an online community outside of social media platforms, we will have all of the programming that I offer will be in there. So the live session that we do on Thursday nights is going to be centered around the actual recovery process between the 3 phases. Daily Habits that Heal is going to be in there. That's a 12-week program just on learning to adopt healthy daily habits, which is a huge part of all of this. It goes very well together. At the time right now, I'm recording this, it's November 2025 because I'm going to put this video on YouTube, so I don't know how far off people will end up watching it. The membership community is still in its launch phase. Anybody that joins, you go to my website, helpingherrise.com/community. You will see a button to join. It is $14 a month as long as you still stay active. You get in at that lower price. After I have reached 20 women, we call these the founders, the price goes up to $47 a month, which is still a great deal. You can't get therapy and coaching that cheap anywhere else, but that'll be the price. And so once I hit that 20, that button will change and the new price will be active in there. So if you're watching this video and you really want to get a good deal, now is the time. Now, I want to throw this caveat. This is a place for women who want to go through their journey walking with God. This is not going to be a place for someone that doesn't want to lean on the Father for our healing, because I truly believe that healing happens within His embrace. And for somebody that's not seeking that, while I would be more than happy to talk to you about it, it may not be a good fit for you. So this group is for those women who want to walk alongside God and want to really lean into that experience of growing closer to Him as you go through this healing period. Thank you for watching. That is basically what we're working on. And so I am going to put this video on YouTube and send it out as well for those that are on my email list, so you have this information. And feel free to share this with anyone. It is readily available for anybody that wants to learn more about what we're doing.